When justice is served and the dust begins to settle, Sabrina Monroe thinks the worst is behind her until a new message arrives, reminding her that the true enemy never left. As her daughter rises as a cyber prodigy and old alliances deepen into something more, Sabrina must decide whether to rebuild quietly or strike first before the shadows return for everything she has left. The buzzing of my phone jolted me awake at 2:45 a.m. It wasn't the usual sound of a call or a text, it was different, like a security alert. Half asleep I almost ignored it, but something made me take a closer look. The notification came from an app I didn't even recognize. Secure Track, alert, location data accessed. My name is Sabrina Monroe. And that message was the beginning of the end of my so-called normal life. I sat up slowly, careful not to disturb Paul. He was fast asleep beside me, his back turned, just like it had been every night for months. The blue glow from my phone made strange shapes dance across the ceiling as I tapped the screen, trying to figure out what this mysterious app was. It wasn't on my home screen, but after digging through my settings, I found it running silently in the background. How long had it been there? Who installed it? What the hell? I whispered, my hands trembling as I opened the app. A map popped up, showing everywhere I'd been that week: my daily drive to Jefferson Highway, I teach English, Sunday coffee with Caitlin, even the quick stop I made at the jewelry store to pick up Paul's anniversary gift. The room suddenly felt too hot, too small. I slid out of bed quietly and crept into the kitchen, passing Alyssa's room on the way. My 15-year-old daughter was fast asleep, unaware that her mother's world was cracking apart. I went deeper into the app. It wasn't just tracking my movements. It had everything: TXTs, call logs, browser history, even internet searches. Every discovery hit me like a punch. Someone had been watching me, listening. For an app like this to be installed, someone needed physical access to my phone. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again. Secure Track alert. Audio recording in progress. My heart froze. I scrambled through the app until I found a folder labeled recordings. The most recent file was from 3 days ago. I tapped it. My voice played through the speaker, distant, unsure. I don't know, Caitlin. Paul's been acting different lately. Always on his phone. Always working late. My stomach twisted into knots. Someone had recorded our private conversation at the cafe. I ended the playback abruptly, my breathing shallow. Footsteps upstairs made me jump. Then I remembered it was just Paul, probably going to the bathroom, but for the first time in 16 years of marriage, the sound of his steps made my skin crawl. I deleted the alert and shut down the app, instincts kicking in. Don't react. Don't let him see. Gather proof. Make a plan. When I got back into bed, I lay awake, listening to Paul's steady breathing, wondering who he was. The man I trusted, the father of my child, had secrets he was willing to go to great lengths to protect. But why track me? Was it jealousy, paranoia, or something far worse? As I finally began to drift off, my phone buzzed again. A text, from an unknown number. Be careful what you look for, Sabrina. Some truths are better left buried. Morning came too fast. I hadn't slept, but I put on my best smile and moved through the morning routine. The smell of toast and coffee filled the kitchen as I packed Alyssa's lunch. Paul came downstairs in his sharp blue suit, the one he always wore for big client meetings. He didn't look at me as he poured his coffee. Big meeting today? I asked, keeping my voice light. Yeah, he said, probably won't be home for dinner. The Morrison account needs extra attention. The Morrison account? Again. That same excuse for the last 3 weeks. Mom, have you seen my USB drive? Alyssa walked in, towel-dried hair clinging to her shoulders. Check. The living room, I said. You were working there last night. She paused, glancing between Paul and me. Even at 15, she was too sharp for her good. Dad, she said, you promised to help me with my computer science project this weekend, the one about digital privacy. Paul stiffened. Something came up. Maybe next weekend. Alyssa didn't respond, but her expression darkened. After Paul left, she turned to me. Mom, what's going on? What do you mean? You look like you haven't slept. Plus, you've washed that same plate 3 times. I opened my mouth to answer, but my phone buzzed. Secure Track. Audio recording saved. Location, kitchen, time, 6:30 a.m. I snatched it up quickly before she could see. I need to get to school early, I said, grabbing my purse. Teacher's meeting. Can you take the bus today? She crossed her arms. Sure, whatever. The drive to school was a blur. Once I parked, I pulled out my phone and searched Caitlin's number, my best friend since college and an IT security specialist. If anyone could help, it was her. Just as I was about to hit call, another message came in. Careful, who you trust. Sabrina, Caitlin might not be the friend you think she is. A chill ran down my spine. How did they know I was about to call Caitlin? My camera, my microphone, they were probably watching me. A knock on my car window made me jump. It was Janet from the English department. You okay, Sabrina? Meeting's about to start. Yeah, coming. I grabbed my bag, pretending everything was fine. But the walls were closing in. I couldn't trust my phone. I couldn't trust my husband. And now maybe not even Caitlin. The worst part, I was starting to feel the cracks forming between me and Alyssa, the one person I was trying so hard to protect. I walked toward the building. Another buzz. Smart girl, your daughter. Maybe she should look into that coding project more carefully. There's a lot to learn about digital privacy these days. This wasn't a warning anymore. It was a threat. Tony Stark's office was wedged between a laundromat and an Italian takeout. He looked as worn as his cracked leather chair. Secure Track Pro, he said after reviewing my screenshots. High-end surveillance software. Not the kind you find on app stores. Can you trace it? Already did. Purchased 5 weeks ago. Shell company. But here's where it gets interesting. He turned his screen to show me the billing info. They used your home address. My stomach twisted. Paul, and that's not all. The shell company pays rent for an apartment in Oakwood Heights. He showed me a photo. Paul walking out of a building with a woman. She was younger, effortlessly beautiful. His hand rested on the small of her back. Erica Carr, works at Paul's firm, junior partner. I didn't react. Couldn't. She pushed. For the spyware, Tony added. Told him to make a clean break. He slid a folder toward me. Inside were documents, including a consultation with a divorce attorney last week. My phone buzzed again. Having fun with Tony. Wonder what Paul would think of his wife meeting strange men in secret. Tony's expression darkened. They're watching. You? Probably through the phone camera. Here. He handed me a burner phone. Use this from now on. And Sabrina, ... Be careful. People who do this kind of thing don't just stop. As I walked to my car, another message arrived. TikTok Sabrina, how long before Alyssa finds out her mom's sneaking around too? I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. They wanted me scared. Paranoid, alone, Paul called. Hey, he said casually. Any chance you can pick up Alyssa? My meeting's running late. Funny thing about that account, Paul, I replied. The Morrison account. They closed their business 5 months ago. Silence. Enjoy your meeting. Say hi to Erica for me. I hung up in the rearview mirror. I saw my reflection. I looked pale, frightened, but there was something else. Something harder. Determination. They wanted to watch me. Fine, let them, but they'd regret what they saw. I planned to go to Erica's apartment instead. I found myself back in my classroom during lunch, staring at unsigned permission slips for tomorrow's field trip. Lost in thought. Alyssa appeared. At the door. You missed breakfast again, she said, and Dad didn't come home. Last night, I forced a smile. He texted, said he had a late meeting. Alyssa's voice cracked. Just stop lying to me. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. As we locked eyes, her face once soft and full of teenage wonder, now held sharper edges, forged from betrayal and disbelief. She stepped forward and pulled out her phone. Remember when Dad asked me to help organize his work files last weekend? A tight knot formed in my chest. Alyssa. There were emails, she interrupted, her fingers tapping furiously, a lot of them. To someone named Erica. She turned the phone screen to face me. He's planning to leave us, isn't he? Before I could answer, a student appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Monroe, Principal Owen needs to see you. Says it's urgent. Paul was already seated in Owen's office. His courtroom mask firmly in place. Calm, calculated. I took the empty seat opposite him, but I didn't return his gaze. Sabrina, Owen began, folding his hands nervously. There's been a complaint. Allegations about your conduct, improper contact with a private investigator during school hours, and concerns about your emotional state. Paul added, I'm worried about her. The paranoia, the secrecy. She's not herself. The trap was closing. Paul had beaten me to the punch, spinning the narrative to his advantage. He was painting me as unstable. I spoke evenly. I have proof about the spyware you and Erica installed on my phone, the shell company paying for your affair, and your plans to fabricate evidence to destroy my career." Owen's face turned white. "Fabricate," I continued. "I also have recordings of conversations captured by that software, including talks with students and parents. If the board finds out the school's privacy has been compromised." Paul's mask cracked. "Alyssa found your emails," I added. "While you were here trying to ruin me, our daughter was discovering the truth." I stood. "I'll send the evidence, Mr. Owen. But now, I need to speak to my daughter." Back in my classroom, Alyssa was still there, her laptop open, lines of code, scrolling rapidly. "What are you doing?" "Fighting back," she said, not looking up. "Most spyware has a backdoor. Dad should have done better research." "Alyssa," she looked up. "There's something else in the app's code. Something bad. I don't think this is just about Dad's affair anymore." My phone buzzed. This time, the message wasn't anonymous. "Erica, we need to talk. Your husband isn't the only one being blackmailed. Meet me tonight." Tony's office, lit by a single desk lamp, was now our war room. Alyssa sat beside him, fingers flying across. "The keys. It's not just spyware," she said. "It's part of a massive network. Look, 17 law firms, all handling divorce cases, routing data through the same server. Surveillance, manipulation, blackmail," Tony added. "A gold mine for settlements." My phone buzzed again. "Erica, they're watching. Don't trust Paul. Meet me at Millvale Riverfront Park. 45 minutes. It's a trap," Tony warned. "Maybe," I said, "but she's scared." And this Alyssa spun her laptop. "Look at this. Erica tried to back out 4 weeks ago." The next day, someone sent her this. A still image from security footage, Erica entering a women's shelter with a younger woman. "Her sister," Tony murmured. "She's been hiding from an abusive ex. Eric, helping her stay hidden." Alyssa continued, "Remember that new college fund Dad started for me? It's a front. He's laundering money through shell companies." The room spun. Paul wasn't just cheating, he was part of something criminal. And Alyssa was now a target. My phone buzzed again, video footage of Alyssa walking home from school. "Back off or she's next." I stood. "Mom, wait," Alyssa cried. "We need a plan." "I have one. I end this. Tonight." "Not alone," she snapped. "I can hack their network. Shut them down." "No," Tony stepped in. "She has a point. You need backup." "No FBI. Not yet," I said. "We need the whole picture. Then we strike." My phone buzzed once more. "TikTok, your husband is about to make a deal. Choose wisely." I looked at Elisa, my brilliant, fearless girl, and at Tony, now a trusted ally. "Okay, here's what we do." Riverfront Park was silent except for the wind. Erica sat on a bench, trembling. "We've got 10 minutes, she whispered. "Your daughter's program worked. There. Offline briefly, tell me everything." She handed me a USB. "The firm's been doing this for years. Spying, forging evidence, manipulating custody, and financial settlements. Paul knew. He helped." My phone buzzed. "Alyssa, Mom, something's wrong. Dad's not at the office." Kaz, the message cut off. "Going somewhere, Sabrina." Paul's voice emerged from the shadows. 3 men flanked him. I instinctively stepped in front of Erica. "You were never supposed to find the spyware," Paul said. "That was Erica's mistake. Money laundering through Alyssa's fund. Using a women's shelter as leverage. That's your mistake. The firm made me a partner. Real power. All I had to do was prove I could be loyal. You can walk away from this with a settlement and your reputation, or things get messy." My phone buzzed. "Tony, FBI en route. Stall him, and if I say no." Paul held up his phone, live footage of the women's shelter. "And Alyssa, she's committing cybercrimes. She could go to jail. You'd ruin your daughter. To protect your firm, I'm protecting her. Teaching her the real world." I smiled faintly. "This ends tonight." I turned my phone toward him. A libstream, his entire confession, was being uploaded. Paul's face went pale. "You didn't come alone. Neither did you." Flashlights erupted from the shadows. FBI agents poured into the park. Paul's men fled. He stood frozen. "Everything I did was for us," he pleaded. "No," I said. "Everything you did was for you." As agents cuffed him, a final text buzzed on my phone. "This isn't over. The firm protects its own." I looked at Erica, relieved her sister was safe, at Tony, and at the storm still ahead. My life was shattered, but I wasn't scared anymore. I knew what I was fighting for. My phone buzzed again. Alyssa, Mom, you okay? No, but for the first time in weeks, I knew what came next. The holding cell at the federal building wasn't what I imagined. Paul sat inside, still in his designer suit, though the illusion of control had peeled off, under the harsh fluorescent lights. He looked like a relic of another life, one I could finally begin to leave behind. 2 FBI agents stood outside, giving us a sliver of privacy. I walked in slowly, holding the USB drive Erica had given me, and placed it on the table between us. You could have taken the deal, Paul said softly. We could have kept our family. Let's talk about family, Paul, I replied, sliding a stack of printouts across the table. 25 families your firm destroyed this year alone. You chose power over people. And when I became inconvenient, you tried to destroy me, too. He didn't flinch, but his jaw tightened. You don't understand how the game works. No, I said, I finally do. I turned as the door creaked open. Alyssa stepped in, and Tony just behind her. I hadn't expected her, but she walked in with that same quiet fire I'd come to rely on. I want to talk to him, she said, stepping forward. Paul's eyes lit up. Sweetheart, no, she cut in, her voice even. She opened her laptop and turned the screen toward us. I found something in the spyware, something Mom doesn't know about yet. My breath caught. The program wasn't just recording conversations, Alyssa continued. It was creating them. Fabricating entire conversations, altering voice samples, producing false histories. They were building a digital case against Mom for custody, professional misconduct, everything. Paul paled. Insurance, he whispered. You would have used it, Alyssa said. To take me away from her. Just like you used Erica's sister against her. Paul reached for her hand, but she recoiled. Alyssa looked at me. Let's go. As we walked away, he called out, what happens now? I looked back one last time. Now we rebuild, without you. 5 months later, our apartment wasn't much, but it was home. Alyssa had set up a dual monitor station where the dining table used to be. It was her new command center, a place where she fought back against the darkness that had once consumed us. Mom, she called. Cybersecurity program accepted. Me. The summer workshop. I came over and hugged her. Told you they'd be lucky to have you. She beamed. The trial was still underway, but Paul had pleaded guilty in exchange for testimony. The firm was in shambles. Other partners had begun flipping. Every day, more skeletons poured out. My phone buzzed. Erica, coffee, tomorrow. Caitlin's coming. Need input on shelter security upgrades. Erica had changed. She had stepped out of fear and into something strong. She and Caitlin now ran digital security workshops for survivors. I checked the message, smiled. Catch. Alyssa tossed a small box at me. Inside was a USB drive shaped like a key. It's clean, she said with a grin. We laughed. Because now, finally, we could. Later that week, a final letter came. From Paul. Apologies, justifications, promises. I didn't open it. Some bridges, I told Alyssa, aren't meant to be rebuilt. She nodded. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown. You thought you won. Power protects its own. I held the screen up. Alyssa cracked her knuckles. Traced just another ex-partner. Delete it, I said. Some people will never understand. Real power isn't about control. The doorbell rang. Coming, I called. Caitlin had arrived early with pasta, and Erica was not far behind. Our little army of survivors, teachers, and builders. Funny, I thought, how something so terrifying could turn into something so strong. It had started with a simple message at 2:45 a.m., and now it had become a mission. To teach, to protect, to rebuild. We sat down to eat, laughed, planned, dreamed, and somewhere deep inside, I felt it for the first time in a long time. Peace. 5 months later. The courtroom was silent as Paul stood for sentencing. He wore the same designer suit from the day he was arrested, but now it hung on him, differently looser, as if even the threads had abandoned his arrogance. Alyssa sat beside me, calm but watchful. The judge read the sentence. 10 years, with the possibility of parole after 6. Paul's head bowed slightly, but he didn't turn to look at us. Outside the courthouse, reporters called my name, but I kept walking. Alyssa squeezed my hand. It's over, she said. No, I replied softly. It's just changed. That afternoon, we returned to our apartment. It was small, tucked above a bakery. the scent of cinnamon rolls always clinging to our curtains. Alyssa immediately dropped her backpack and headed to her workspace, where lines of code still scrolled across the dual monitors Tony had given her as a gift. A lot had changed. Tony's firm now worked closely with law enforcement, using our case to uncover dozens of others. Erica had moved in temporarily with her sister while rebuilding her career and her sense of safety. Caitlin, ever the loyal friend, had helped us secure a grant to implement cybersecurity training across school districts. Me. I was back to teaching, but not just literature. My new elective, digital ethics and privacy. Alyssa became my co-instructor. One evening, I received a letter from Paul. Alyssa had gotten one, too. Neither of us opened them. We stored them in a drawer that we never touched. Maybe one day, she said. Maybe. At the shelter, Erica and I ran workshops for women escaping digital abuse. One woman, Maria, cried when she learned how to detect spy on her phone. Another shared how her ex used bank apps to track her location. We gave them tools. We gave them hope. But the threats hadn't completely stopped. One night, an untraceable message flashed across my screen. You think you won, but power protects its own. I showed Alyssa. Want me to trace it? No, I said, deleting it. Let them watch. We're not hiding anymore. The National Conference on Digital Privacy in Education approached. Caitlin, Erica, and I were set to present. The auditorium buzzed with anticipation as Alyssa took the stage to open our panel. My name is Alyssa Monroe, she began. I'm 15. I cracked a criminal surveillance ring disguised as family law. I did it because I had to protect my mom. The crowd leaned in. Privacy isn't a privilege, she said. It's right, and no one should lose theirs because someone they love decides control matters more than trust. A standing ovation followed. My eyes blurred. Afterward, in a quiet moment, Erica pulled me aside. They're still out there, she said. The firm may have crumbled, but the mindset, the need to dominate, to silence, that's everywhere. I know, I said. That's why we keep fighting. Back home that night, Alyssa found a final piece in the spyware's architecture, a digital dead man's switch. If triggered, it would have released fabricated evidence to law enforcement, even planted on victims' devices. They planned for every outcome, she whispered. Except one, I said. Us. We held a small celebration, with Caitlin and Erica. Over pasta and wine. We laughed about nothing and everything. Then came the toast. To revenge, Caitlin began. To justice, Erica added. No, I said, raising my glass. Rebuilding. And we clinked glasses. Late that night, Alyssa curled up beside me on the couch. Are you okay, Mom? I am now. Are you? Yeah, she said. But sometimes, I still check over my shoulder. That's okay. Just remember, if they look for us again, they'll find something stronger than what they broke. She smiled and rested her head on my shoulder. Outside, the city moved on. But in our quiet apartment above the bakery, we had peace. And purpose. Sometimes, the only way to rebuild is to let everything burn. But from those ashes, we had built something powerful, unbreakable.